The director said, hey, can you do this line 3 different ways? I was like, go with the moment. I give props to actors who use this method.
1, 2, 3, let's switch this up.
Hi honeys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Anastasia, also known as your fave social media girl. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe. It would really help my channel out. And of course, don't forget to click that notification bell button so you know every single time that I post, which is on Fridays. This video is a part 2 to acting classes. Who is this girl and what is she doing? So this is how you learn. This is essentially like your university, your degree. But did it help me? No, don't rush into that right away because they're very expensive. Part 1 is primarily about kind of getting the basics out of the way of like when to start classes, why are they important, you know, how many times you should do them a week. I'm gonna link it up above here for if you're watching, like starting on part 2, you can watch part 1. Part 2 is gonna be the different types of acting classes that exist. And then I'm also gonna get into like the technique method classes. Bear with me, it is a lot of information and it can get a little confusing. So I do recommend maybe having like a notebook or something just to kind of like jot down notes. Oh yes, and then I'm also gonna say, because I'm primarily based in Toronto, I'm gonna recommend some of the classes that I have done, that I know some of my acting friends have done, that are very popular. They're just really good classes and they're worth the money. So I'll give you a list of them. Let's get started. Before I start on the types of acting classes, there's something I want to mention that is highly recommended for you to do. There's this option called auditing classes. So essentially what an auditing a class is that you get to come in, check out the class for free. Because acting classes are expensive, this is a chance for you to sort of like see what the class is like, see if you like the teacher, see if the way the teacher in the acting class is based upon like what method, blah, blah, if you're into it. And then if you are, then essentially you would go in and sign up for whatever class you want to take and then kind of go through there. To audit, it depends. Each kind of like school class is different. If you go on their website, you could either email them, say, hi, I'm Anastasia and I'm looking to audit your scene study class. And then they will essentially give you the times of when you can come in and watch the class. A few things, if you're gonna come and watch the class, make sure that you have the time to watch the whole class. It's really disrespectful for you to come in and then leave halfway through. It breaks kind of the momentum of the class. Like people are there to do their work, and when you kind of come in and then leave, it just doesn't really look good. Too, it's kind of tough for the teacher because sometimes the teacher will want to talk to you, get to know you, blah, blah, blah. If you're gonna come watch, even if you don't like the class, because there's been times where I'm like, not really a fan of the class, that's fine. Just stay for the whole thing and then, you know, leave when it's done, and then that's that. Another way you can audit the class is on their website. You might actually be able to just book online what classes you want to see. This is more of like the new high-tech way. Not a lot of people do it in that sort of way yet. So you can either email, call, or do through the online booking. Depends on how the classes work. There are different types of acting classes. You can do an on-camera audition class. So it can be an ongoing class once a week, or you can do like a full 8-week intensive or like a 6-week intensive. It just depends on how some of the schools do it. Primarily, your on-camera class will also be the same as an audition class. And how that works is you will get the night before from the teacher an audition for you to prepare, as if literally like the way they are for auditions, because you don't get a lot of time to prepare auditions. So they'll email you a scene from the day before. You have that day plus the next day to sort of memorize, to get it ready as if you're going in for an audition. You will then show up. Sometimes what a lot of them do is that they will also do right off the beginning a cold read, because you can also do cold read auditions, which means is that you have an audition, you have no idea what it's going to be based upon, but you just show up. They give you, I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 sentences. It's usually that, like they're not asking you to memorize anything like right on the spot. And you just kind of get a moment to prepare whatever that one line is, and then you come back in the room and then you do that. Once you do that cold read audition, you go back out and then they do the actual whatever you were asked to prepare from the night before. Then one by one, everyone goes in and they literally take it as an audition. Like the teacher will act like a casting director and they'll be like, hi, can you please slate? You do the scene that you prepared and then you exit, every student goes. And then once everyone's done, everyone comes back into the class. And then you rewatched every single scene and then you talk about every scene. And then the teacher gives each student a chance again to essentially, with the corrections that the teacher gives you, to go back up there, and everyone watches you do the scene again with the teacher with the corrections that apply. So that's what an on-camera / audition class is. Sometimes if it's like called an on-camera, it would be like 4 weeks of audition style, and then maybe the other 4 weeks are more you're actually working on a whole length scene. I did once the scene from Silver Linings Playbook, and you worked on that like very long scene because it's like a 10-page scene, and then at the end of like the 8th week you actually film it, and then you can have it for your demo reel purposes if you want. So sometimes you can actually use the classes, like the stuff that you do in your on-camera audition class, you could actually use it for your demo as well. Not always, because if it's really, really unprofessional, like the teacher's talking in between your scene, you really can't use that. But sometimes they'll try to make like one good take that you can use like classwork as your demo for when you're applying to agencies when you're just starting out. So that's really good. There's also a thing called scene study class. It's primarily the same thing, except there's no cameras. It's literally just you and your acting partner, and you don't have to be all technical with like the camera. You're just literally playing in the room the entire time. Top 2 classes, the on camera and the scene study. Those are like the ones that should be always like your basics in your back pocket. Then once you kind of get the hang of those things, then you can start going into a bit more like very specific classes. There's something called a script analysis class. So it's literally a class that you literally analyze the script. Like I personally have a hard time, before had a hard time analyzing the script, like looking at like an interior shot, exterior shot, where they talk about the stage directions. They'll go through all of that with you. And again, usually those are not an ongoing, those are usually like a 4-week intensive like script analysis, because you don't really need to do that all the time. You might have to do it just a few times and then you kind of get the hang of it. They also, in ongoing and on-camera classes, they do some script analysis. It's just not as in-depth as it is for a script analysis class. Those are really good if you're looking to get into like theater, if you want to do Shakespeare, because that script over there for Shakespeare is a whole other situation that I don't ever get into. I would never do Shakespeare, but that's really difficult to analyze. So those classes would be really good for that. Then there's also improv classes. Improv classes are really fun. They're also really good to kind of get you like, just to get you out of your head, like shake it off, like do your thing, like for you to really like be able to think on the spot. For example, I actually just had a callback audition for a commercial a couple of days ago with my new agent. So it was really interesting because in the callback audition, the director said, hey, can you do this line 3 different ways? I was like, you really have like a minute to think about what 3 different ways can I do it? And he just wanted you to kind of say the line like one after the other nonstop. Those moments, it's good to have improv classes in your body because you don't really have time to get in your head. You really just have to like pick up and go. So it makes it really easier that you have the improv classes. I had 3 different ways where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way, this one, this way. Okay, great, let's go, right? So the improv classes really do kind of help you shake it off, kind of be able to work on the spot, not get in your head, just kind of be able to go with the moment, which is very, very important when it comes to acting, to always go with the moments and the impulses in an improv that really breaks it down for you. So I really recommend those as well. Those are also really good if you're looking to do comedy, because comedy is a lot of based on a little bit of improv as well. So if you're looking to do on the comedy side, improv is your way to go. There's also such thing as called cold reading classes. Same thing, it teaches you how to do really good cold reads if you do cold read auditions. I actually don't know how much cold read auditions actually still happen. I've only had 2 in my entire lifetime, and they were both for theater. I've never done a cold read for film. I think I've heard like maybe 2 of my acting friends do a cold read audition for film. It's just not really a thing anymore. It used to be like maybe 10 years ago. So I personally don't really know if there's a point in paying money for that, unless you know for a fact that you're constantly auditioning for cold reads. I mean, I'd love to find out who that person is, like shout out, comment below. But yeah, essentially they just teach you what's it like to do cold reads. They'll like literally give you no material, and then you just show up and they'll give you maybe 5 minutes to look over the material prepared, and then you go up there and you do it, and then the teacher works with you to be like, okay, that was great. Now let's work on that cold read that you did. So that's kind of what the basis is. There's also a such thing called an on-camera commercial class. Same basis of a regular on-camera where you're doing more of like film script, TV scripts. This is primarily just for commercials, because commercials are also very specific in their own ways. There's also such thing as called commercial actors, and commercial auditions are very different from a regular like film, TV sort of audition. That one is something, if you're primarily looking to just do commercials, 100% I'd go down the on-camera commercial class. Then there's like 3 little classes. It's called a breath class. There's also a movement class, and then there's a vocal class. Breath class, So basically a lot of actors hold their breath. And when they hold their breath, they're really like, you can tell that they're holding their breath because they're not relaxed. They're not like enjoying themselves. Breath class really helps you kind of get connected with yourself. Like, I'm not kidding. When I sit down and I meditate before I'm about to do a scene and I concentrate on my breath, I'm telling you, the emotions come out. I can cry, like I can do whatever I need to do. So breath class will really help you with that. It's never an ongoing. I've never seen an ongoing breath class. It's usually like an intensive 8 weeks to 10 weeks. Same with a movement class. The movement just really helps you release tension in where you are. Like, I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders and my back. I kind of tend to hunch a little bit more. So that's something I always have to work on, that I need to like relax myself and just like really keep myself open. So the movement class kind of gets you all in your body, really connected with your body and all that kind of stuff. Vocal class, it's not a singing class. Vocal class deals with the placement of your voice. Vocal class can also be like learning accents, how to properly like use your voice. Like, for example, like the Kardashians, they have vocal fry because they talk like that all the time.
Bitch, leave. Ooh, we don't care. Bye.
If you kind of don't have the right placement for the way your voice comes out in vocal classes, they can help you with that. Same thing. They don't ever do an ongoing. It's usually like a 4 to 10, 8 to 10 sort of week intensive as well. So those are the different types of acting classes you can take. These are also very similar to what's it like if you went to a theater school. You will also do breath, movement, and a vocal class. You will also do an on-camera class. You will do a bunch of scene study classes. But you will go, your scene study classes will be more technique classes, and that's what I'm going to get into in the next little bit. These are all the classes that you're going to get. You don't have to do all of them. I would just definitely start off with just a regular on-camera class and a scene study class. And then once you kind of feel like you're ready to kind of go into something more in-depth, into something you need, then by all means go in there. But you do not have to take all of those right off the bat. Now we're getting into the technique method classes. There's obviously a bunch of different acting techniques, acting methods. I'm talking about the 6 main ones that like really changed and shaped acting and whatnot. It's important to know these because not every method and every technique is for the right actor. Just because you choose a technique, also remember, you don't have to be stuck on the same technique all the time. So the first one is Meisner. His name is Sanford Meisner. Some actually famous actors that use him would be Sandra Bullock, Diane Keaton, Tom Cruise. His technique is to help actors sort of like get out of their head. He likes to get you to repeat the line until you truly believe it and feel it inside of you. So like, for example, if you're trying to say, I'm sorry, you would say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and you just keep saying it until you actually feel like something unlocks on the inside and you truly believe that you actually are sorry. So that's kind of his technique. It's repetition. It's just to keep going, saying the same line until you finally kind of feel it, unlock, and then your emotions sort of start pouring out. And I'm not talking about crying, just in general, you will feel like the emotion like come out of you. The next method is Stanislavski's method. It's a famous guy. His name is Konstantin Stanislavski. Marlon Brando, Stella Adler, and Harold Clurman. Those are like some big people that like to use his method. So his method is made up to like 7 different techniques to help actors create their characters believable and really help them put themselves in the place of their character. So his is all about called the given circumstances. So this is like the circumstances of the character, like the who, what, where, when, why, like to create the entire story of who your character is, why are they doing this, what is their backstory. Like he really goes into more of the script analysis sort of vibe. His given circumstances, like the 7 techniques, is what is the action that you're doing towards like the other actors, imagination, your attention, the relaxation. So where are you holding tension? Where does your character hold tension? Maybe that's what you need. The units and objectives. So the units is that you would take the script and you'd be like, unit A would be like, let's say from here to here. And the reason why that's unit A is because it's the same sort of tactic, the same action you're doing towards the character. Then the unit will switch when there's something new happening in the scene. So somebody walks in, that's a new unit. Objective. So what is your objective towards the other actor, the other character? What are you trying to do to them? My objective of the scene is to profess my love to this person. So the entire scene, you're trying to tell this person that you love them. That would be like your objective. Emotional memory. So you want to tap into some really like emotional thing, let's say, happened to you that will help you connect to the character and what's going on. So those are his 7 techniques that he goes for. The next guy is Michael Chekhov, pretty famous guy. He wrote a lot of beautiful plays. Jack Nicholson, Clint Eastwood, and Anthony Hopkins. Those loads actors like to use his method. His is a very old style of method. It's called the psychophysical approach. So essentially it uses, you're working with impulse, lots of imagination, feelings, and the atmosphere. Michael Chekhov really likes to see the truth of the moment. It's like not denying what you are truly feeling in the moment. So essentially, let's say you're coming on set and you have a scene to do, and let's say you're hungover, for example. What Chekhov would say is, don't deny the feeling of being hungover. Work from the point of being hungover, because there is truth within that. You are hungover, and then from there you essentially will maybe like get to where you need to be as a character in that scene. Don't deny what you're feeling. Go with the moment. It's all about what is happening right now in that moment, and then go from there. So that's kind of what he goes on. He likes to work on impulses as well. So it's less on like, if you want to like raise your hand and push somebody in that moment, sure, raise your hand and push them. Like, just because the script doesn't say it doesn't mean you can't do it. Next we have is Urhagen. Very popular. This Urhagen actually is a school in New York. Victor Garber, Liza Minnelli, and Steve McQueen used Urhagen's method. So Urhagen tries to avoid over intellectualizing their process. There's a 5 key element to the Hagen sort of technique. Substitution, so it's like your emotional recall. So you try to remember, let's say your scene is dealing with something like, for example, death. If you ever had someone like pass away, or you know what the feeling of death is like, not dying, but like, you know, grieving, you would go to substitutions. You're going to substitute that feeling into the scene to help you. Transference, so it's the relationship to the character's experience. So what relationship do you have to the character? Like, can you transfer some of your life into the character's life? Like, is there a similarity? Specificity, so be very, very specific when it comes to the emotional recall, the substitution, and the transferring. And then authenticity, to always be authentic and truthful. They all kind of have the same sort of underlying sense of truthfulness. And then preparation, so you really want to come prepared with this. You don't want to show up essentially kind of not knowing what you're going to use in your emotionally recall. You're already prepared of like, I remember this story, I'm going to use this story in this scene, in this moment, like down to the T. Uta Hagen likes to ask 9 questions. So it'd be like, who am I? What time it is? Where am I? What surrounds me? What are my given circumstances? Like the who, what, where, when, why, which is what Stanislavski's use. My relationship to each and every character, to also things as well. What do I want? What is in my way that I want to get? What do I do to get what I want? Uta Hagen also deals with like the script analysis a little bit, like the character breakdown. So some people really enjoy that. It really helps them get into their character. So if that's something for you, hands down, Uta Hagen. Next we have is Lee Strasberg. So Robert De Niro, Daniel Day-Lewis, Charlize Theron, they used Lee Strasberg method for some of their movies. So they're called this method acting. So essentially being the character 24/7. Like even when you're done filming, you still go home and you act as this character at home, in front of your friends, in front of your family, everything, to fully embody the character. I have never done this method. I do find it a little intense for me. I give props to actors who use this method, because I'm afraid that if I take this with me constantly all the time, that I actually might have a hard time getting out of the character and coming back to me. Like I need to be able to put like a line down the middle between my work and then my home. I just don't think for my anxiety, doing this method will really help. But I know a few people who are into it and they would do it. Take this one with a grain of salt. I would not start off with this method maybe right away. I'd do some other ones and then get into this one. I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. Stella Adler. There's also a school of Stella Adler if in the States, if you choose to fully go 100% Stella Adler. Diana Ross, Salma Hayek, and then Kate Mulgrew. I'm really bad with last names. But those actors and celebrities used Stella Adler's method. So it's the ability to imagine the character's world, and Stella Adler likes to use discipline. So making acting a lifestyle, text analysis, and action. When I mean making acting a lifestyle, I'm not saying like being the character 24/7, by taking acting very seriously, where you discipline yourself to the point where like you live and breathe acting 24/7. And then text analysis, huge on text analysis, like Stella loves that stuff. And then your action, like what is your action in the scene? What are you trying to do to the character? That kind of stuff. So very similar to Stanislavski's as well, but you're essentially painting the entire character's world. Like you want to completely create the story for your character. So if someone asks like what year you're born, you know exactly the year. If they asked what is your favorite color of your character, you will be able to say it's blue. Those are the different types of techniques and method classes. You can take strictly just technique classes as well. These will never be on-camera classes. They will always be scene study classes, but these methods, you are able to use them in theater and also in film and TV. So you're able to kind of go both ways with it. You just want to learn the basics and then essentially take the basics and then go from there. The last little part will be different types of classes in Toronto. So Pro Actors Lab is very popular. Armstrong classes, AMAW, also known as Anthony Mendo's Acting Workshop, Alza Acting Studio, LB Acting Studio, John Boylan, Milne, I'm not sure how to say it, Acting Studio, Second City, or Bad Dog Theater. Those are really good for comedy, improv, Second City, and Bad Dog, and EVN Film Studios. Some of these classes will do both scene study on camera and like other ones. Some are primarily just on camera film classes. Some, like for example, Second City and Bad Dog will only do comedy, improv, scene study classes. They don't do any on camera classes. So you just have to research of what you're looking for each class. Well, honeys, this is the end of the video. Oh my gosh, I really hope this video is not gonna be 45 minutes long. It might be, I do apologize. But anyways, I hope I was able to get all the information that you were all looking for. If you have any more questions, please feel free to comment down below. You can also follow me on Instagram at Anastasia_Pioro, and you can DM me through there. I love you, honeys. Let me know what acting video you guys want to see next. Whatever it is, I will be more than happy to look into it. But anyways, don't forget to subscribe. And honeys, I'm going to see you all next Friday. Bye!